Hello and welcome to a new episode of Remote Pair Programming. I have with me Bastien, and we're gonna continue with our work on tests that tell a story. Today we want to use Groovy and Spock to see how BDD tests kind of will look with the account statement of our exercise on the bank kata. So, hi Bastien.
Hello.
How what do we expect from this thing to happen today?
I don't know. I've never used the Spock framework, and I've used framework like Cucumber to do BD style testing, and I'm quite curious to see how writing this test will help us designing the code, or how far we can go with refactoring once we have this kind of test. Because I think that having this kind of test is kind of different than having like a test based on mocks. It should end up with very different design, and I'm quite eager to see where it leads.
So you believe that the design will be different because of the tests that we use?
Yes, I think that in this kind of approach, we tend to have more room to make different design decisions when we are really more constrained when using tests using mocks. And I'm quite curious to see how many options we have when we do this kind of testing.
Okay, so let's go a bit back to the requirements and what we have. We wrote until now deposit and withdrawal, a bit of transfer, and now we'd like to go to account statement, right?
Yes. So this feature has the goal is to implement the statement of a single account and to see how much money we have on it, and to print the current date. It's rather simple, though it will just ask the question of what kind of information this function returns. When I do this kata, at some point there is always a question on who does the printing, and so it's interesting that the requirements are split in two, because the printing will be for later. So the requirements kind of force us to have something that has no side effect.
Yeah.
And this is a good thing because it will be way easier to test.
A thing from the domain is that we need to look at a bit more. I'm reading now the requirements. The more than date, amount, and balance, it's date, credit, debit, and balance. So we want to, the amount can be either credit or debit, so can be something that came to our account and that's debit, something that we paid to someone else and that is credit. And another thing is that we'd like the more recent transactions to be on the top. So the last transaction should be the first one.
Okay. So maybe before we start thinking about a solution, we write first test and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So this way it will be much simpler for us to explore the domain and what we want to see. And maybe the first test we can write is about having a statement when you have done just one single operation on your account.
Exactly. So we don't care about the filtering or anything else.
So let's do this. And like you said, we are going to write Groovy. So I hope you will help me, because I'm really not familiar with Groovy.
But do we need, you mean Groovy tests? But
yes.
Okay, yeah, I think that's gonna be just very simple.
It should be.
Because if we go towards data driven tests, it's gonna be just a line and that's all, maybe 2 lines
Yeah,
of code.
probably. What should we call our class?
For now, it's just, I don't know, account statement tests. I don't know exactly.
Okay. What should our first test be?
So now we're writing Spock. We're using Spock from Groovy, and this is how what you need to do is just you need to extend the class with specification, and then all the functions from that class will be tests. You don't need to put any annotation, and you can write the name as text. So the first one, I don't know, what should it be? It should be something with one transaction, account statement with that one transaction, something like that.
Yes. Let's write it and refactor the name later. Okay. So maybe you want to explain a bit how we write the structure of the test using Spock?
So it's very simple. We have some keywords. We could have like, BDD type of framework, something like given, when, and then. And you just write there the operations, you define the variables and so on. You define a variable with def, and then this is the test. So it's that simple. Or the thing that we'd like to do is make a data-driven test with something like a table. So we just do expect, and we call the system under test. In our case, probably a class around the count statement, I guess, right? We don't have it yet. And we want to call a method on it that will give us a statement probably. And now you do where, and well, what you need to do is you need to define in the expect part the variables of that will be input and output. So I'm thinking that the variables here are date. So that's what we need to define. Date, amount, and balance, right? And in where we do something like date pipe, amount pipe, balance pipe, and statement. So the first three are the input and the statement is the output. And then on the next line, we do, I don't know, choose a valid date.
No idea how to do this in Groovy. Can we use local date maybe to simplify?
Yeah, okay. Then pipe whatever amount, and then balance. And then in the banking kata, we'd like it to be a string, I guess. And as I see now in the requirements, it was all the things were separated by double pipes. So you have a data, you have something like a header of the table. And then on the next line, you have those information. Yes, and then we have
26, something like this.
Yes, 26, 02, 2020, double pipe, 10, double pipe 30, double pipe. Oh, that's all. Yeah. Okay. So I think this should be more or less what we need.
So I have just one question. Right now we still need some code in the expect. So the first question I have is, can we have another step for the setup, or
Yes.
do we put everything in the expect?
No, you can have a given.
Okay, maybe we could move all these
Yeah.
definitions here and. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now maybe in the given we need to actually perform an operation so that we can get a statement.
Yes. So I think we need to give that to define those variables and then pass them towards the account statement class or the method from account statement somehow.
Okay, so let's define the method, the function, the variables first. And what do we want the code to look like? An account statement. The best way to do this would be through the constructor, I think, so that we
Yeah, I think so.
have an account statement and never change it. So that would be something like this. And I think this is an okay taste. I'm just not happy with I did this, but that's not very great.
Yeah.
But if you have a better suggestion, I'm open.
Yeah, for now I think we can give it like that, but then I guess we could improve it. But I would leave it like that now. Just let's try to see how this works.
Okay. So I can run the test and it should just not work.
So now you don't define it exactly because they're defined there, so you don't need that when. Yeah, that's
okay, so you want to remove all this.
Yeah. So that's what you need.
Yes, and do we really need the definition of the variable?
No, I just wanted to tell you what
okay.
it will be useful for.
Okay. So I think that this is expected here.
Yes.
And
yes, so you don't need to define it. There we go.
So local date is not used this way. Can we do something? What is the simplest way we can write the state?
Sorry, I didn't get
How can
that.
we simply just tackle this problem? Or do we want to write the date? Do we use something else? Do you have any suggestion on how we can make the code combine?
Yeah, so I would just write a string like the one in the right with this, yeah, and that's all.
Okay, something like this. Okay. And now we can run the test again. And it should still fail because we haven't defined a account statement.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So yes, this is right.
Okay, so let's define this thing. Delete not helping here. And let's see if we can import this. Well, maybe we don't need to import this. So I'm going to create a constructor with 3 values and see if the compiler is happy with this. and we set string intent. And I'm going to create the function statement. And it should return a string. Let's return something empty. And now if I run the test, I think it will still be failing because I'm not sure that Kotlin classes are used in the code. Yes.
So what's the signature of the account statement constructor? You put in string, int, and int.
Do we have a new in Groovy to create an instance of?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think it was expected to see a method, but we needed a constructor. Okay, so we have the code running, and
we can see a difference between what we expect and what we really have. Maybe it's the other way around. Like the expected is actually our actual, and the actual is what we have expected. Did we do something wrong with the framework?
So exchange the order of the equality. Yeah.
Nice.
So we have the tests now in the state where we want them to be. Do
you want me to keep the double pipe or not?
Yeah, I think that's a good visual delimiter to see what's expected and what's the actual.
Okay. So maybe we can make the test pass now.
Yeah, so let's make the test pass now. And then we need to improve the date, I guess.
Yes. Do you have a suggestion on how to make this pass?
Well, it's the usual way, just to copy paste. That's what I would do. Copy paste the thing that we have there.
Something like this.
Yeah, something like this. Great. Okay. And I would try now to change the string date to a real string. And I think you need to write something like local date.
What do you want me to? Should I change it here?
Yeah. So that's just local date parentheses.
So it's off. Yes, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. So then you put the values there.
So that's the same thing that in Groovy and in Kotlin. Of course.
And now I think you need to change as well in the code. Or yeah, you need to change the type. And it should work. Nope. Day of month. Day of month.
What did I? Oh yes. Still not that.
Look at the order, please. Maybe it's a
yes, it's a
year, month, and day.
Something like this, yes.
I think that should be the standard anyway, but
yes, you're right. Okay.
Great. So now I would maybe try to see if that works with the so if the name of the test is generated as we'd like it to be, that would be interesting to see. I think the easiest way is to make it fail.
Let's do this.
But because that's very It's a very nice feature of Spock. But now it's not working.
Yes, of course, because I'm just not modifying the right thing.
Yeah, but still, you see, it's not generating the
Yes.
the name there.
And yeah, it's not working. Oh yes,
It
it's
is. So that's what I'd like to see. So we put that, and then we just modify, add lines in the table, and that's all.
okay. Account statement for it. What could we call this test?
I have a feeling that we're testing too much. So what we could do is test it in pieces on this concept, like test that when we have. I'd like what I would do is have a test on credit and amount. I mean credit amount and balance. Have a test on debit amount and balance. Have only one or a few tests like this one. So I wouldn't have more than 2 or 3 tests here, like one with no state, with no transaction, one with one transaction, one with 2 or 3, and that's all. But then I would go deeper into smaller grain tests. So I wouldn't mind about date. I would mind about the credit and the debit, because you have some special cases there, like you cannot credit when you don't have enough money or things like that. And yeah, that's all, I guess. So I wouldn't do this test very deep. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I think that this is one thing we have to be careful when we use this kind of test, is that we tend to have very big tests.
Yes, exactly.
And
yeah.
That's always the thing that we have to be careful of. So let's try the smaller test.
So then the smaller test would be about debit.
We'll find a name later.
Yeah.
What do we want this test?
Again, new account statement. It's basically the same. But no, it's not the same.
Okay, so what story are we telling here?
We are telling the story of the debit. The options that you can do when you are when you receive money from someone else.
Okay.
And I would think that that's not the account statement class.
Yeah, that's more the account class.
Yeah.
We create the account statement that shows the operation.
Exactly. So we need the account, probably the account class, probably for that.
So let's make a new class test. Class of test that would be called.
It's not the most imaginative test, but I would still call it account test.
Yeah.
See after.
Let's do this. We'll find something better later. And the story is that we have a statement that shows a debit operation for an account.
So here can we do something like a bit different, like when and you write then on the same line with when at 6 in quotes as text deposit, and then you do def final on the next line on 7, def final balance equals initial balance plus amount, and then the next line, expected final balance equals final balance. So then now we can write the first test, something like where, so after line 10, where initial balance pipe amount double pipe expected final balance, and we could put something like 0, 1 and 1. So that's what I'd like to test, that when I have an initial balance, the amount will be added to my initial balance and I would have a final balance. I think this test should pass now, because we don't have anything yet, any class yet. Oh yeah, we need to extend. Extends.
Yes, that's because I didn't create a Groovy class, I created a Java class.
Ah, okay.
Oh, and I removed the wrong one.
Oops.
Okay.
Extends specification.
Just way better.
Good.
Okay.
So now we could also do unroll the annotation, and then add the variables, like, so I would say something like after deposit of amount with balance find initial balance. It's balance with the final balance. Yes, we have the expected final balance or something like that.
I'm just going to make it face so that we can see. The name is okay.
So now I think we need to create the account class and do this very complicated operation there.
So I have an account, I think.
Yeah. We had the account class, right?
Yes, it's like this.
So what we do there, we do a deposit.
Yes, and can we define the initial balance in the account? We cannot.
No, we need to do a... Anyway, this is 0, so it's simple. There isn't anything. We just deposit 1. We deposit the amount. You just can put amount there. That's what you need instead of 1. And then the final balance should come from the account.
Something like this.
I don't know if it will cast it.
Probably not. This way should be better. And that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. We can inline final balance maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can play around. This is what I like about this. You wrote the test and now you can play around with values. So you don't write tests or code anymore. Now we can think about all the situations that can appear. We could try values that have decimals that now we don't use, we cannot accept. So I don't know, 13.9t or something. It will, yeah, because money I think expects integers.
Mm-hmm. And do we want to change this?
Sorry?
Do we want to change this? Do we want to make the test pass or not?
So I don't know what we want to use here. If we just want to leave it to the integers, this will be a simplified version but unrealistic. That's fine. What I'd like to do is go more towards the credit, because there are more interesting things to do.
Okay. So maybe write another test about credit.
Let's just add another line here, just to make sure that it's not just a,
Yes. Okay.
so
you have to play with the initial balance.
Yes. So put a different initial balance. Put something there, because I think we still need to do something here. We need to do an initial deposit with the initial balance, right?
Yes.
So yeah, let's do the same thing, almost the same thing, but with withdrawal from the account.
That's the same test, and I think I can actually copy it.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing, but you're just saying when. And then at 26, it's not deposit, it's payment or something like that. At 26. Okay, and yeah, so let's look now. So if it's initial balance 0, that's an extreme case, so I put that towards the end. Just let's put something like initial balance 30, or yeah, 20, and we have 10 expected final balance.
Okay, so I don't know if the compiler tells me that there is a problem. Withdraw take money.
Cannot use 20 for money. Why is that?
I don't know. Oh, that's
okay.
Forgetting the new again. Once you get rid of it, it's hard to remember. You have to put some sometimes.
Okay. Let's do something now. That's the other case, the one that where you have 20, you want to put in to retrieve 30, and then you'd have a failure. And I don't know how that will look. So here it depends on what we like to have, like an exception message, or we want to have just the value.
Yes, we can actually have
both.
2 things expected. So maybe we had an expected message.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
But first, can we do this small step and check that the balance is not modified?
Yeah. I don't know if this will work, if it won't throw.
I think it should, given the code. Yes.
Great. Yeah. So we wrote good code.
Yes. So now we want an expected message from the operation.
Mm-hmm.
And this expected message would come from here. And I don't know what we expect, so I'm going to make this fail. Something like this.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how the code behaves. That's one thing I like about test is that sometimes you don't really know how your code will behave, and you don't have to go and read the code. You just run tests on it.
Yeah, it's a feedback.
And apparently, I got the syntax wrong because it should fail and it is not failing.
Hmm?
So maybe I need a double pipe here.
No, you need to put it in then. So you need to put in then. You need to
Oh,
put
yes.
expected message equal with message. Message.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
Here.
it's expected message. But you need to define message at 29. Yeah, that's it. Now it should fail. It says success, but it's
Because we had actually a message class, and so maybe we just want to check the message.
Yeah.
Maybe this is better than
Yeah,
true.
yeah. That's I don't think that's important. That's just for visual
Yes.
delimitation.
So it seems that success was the right message because it is passing.
Yeah,
Let's just check this.
that's something different. I think we wrote you don't have enough money. That's the message that we get. Instead of fail,
Yes.
it says you don't have enough money.
Here and here we really expect success.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Another interesting test that I'd like to try out is with max. So what's the maximum amount that you are allowed to deposit and to withdraw? Because you have limits typically in banking. You cannot withdraw more than, I don't know, 10,000 euro per day, let's say.
Okay.
So if you have an initial, the initial balance should be something, let's say 20,000 euro or 20,000, yeah. And you'd like to withdraw 10,000, that should work. But if you want to withdraw 10,001, that shouldn't work. So I would write both of these tests.
And what kind of message would you like to have?
You have exceeded your daily limit or your daily withdrawal limit, something like that. We obviously don't have that.
Yes. Do you want to implement this feature?
Yeah, let's do that. Even if we just hard code the limit, I think it's interesting to see the tests. I think that's what we were focused on more, on writing
Yes.
nice tests.
Yes.
I don't want to go into the concept of limits from banking because that's huge, and I think we need just a new system just for limits.
Okay. So let's put this here. Failure. Something like this. let's define it here. And we said that we would like to have this message. Okay. Maybe we can put this.
Yeah, we could put that as a constant or something.
That would be withdrawal daily limit. Something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And now if you run the test again, it is passing.
Great.
So I've never used this framework and I really like how easy it is to write these things.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show, like the idea of tests that tell a story, that they really tell a story in a nice way and you don't need to know anything about code, basically. You just look at that table and you understand it.
Yes, and it's, I don't know if you want some parameterized test, because this is something that we can do with JUnit 5.
Yeah.
It's way easier than it used to be now,
Mm-hmm.
but still I really like this syntax much more.
Me too. That's why I prefer these to JUnit tests, even though maybe it's a bit more, well, getting your head together groovy, but it's just a few lines of code.
Yes, and the integration is really easy because we just had to add a few things in the configuration, in the Gradle configuration, and then we have it, and that's really easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
What do we want to do now? Because we did a lot of work on accounts, but nothing on statements.
Yes, so I would say to go back on statement and maybe try to go towards printing it. So now the statement, I guess, would need a connection to an account, right?
Yes, somehow we need that.
So in order to push that, we would need in the test of account statement to get the account statement an account. So what's weird for me is that we're passing to account statement the information, but I think we should give to the statement method this information and maybe packed, or no, not even. So we should just give account statement an account, right?
We could actually, I would expect the account to produce an account statement for each deposit or withdrawal operation.
So the question is, do we give the account to the account statement or the account statement to the account?
Yes.
What's yes, it's I think about where is the data. So where do we keep the data? Because now we don't keep the date of that specific withdrawal or deposit. So where would we keep the data? What would be the data object?
I would expect it to be the account statement or something else.
Well, I would say that it would be something else that the account writes to, right? So I would say that I say account withdrawal and it does the withdrawal and then it registers the transaction to some data structure. And then the account statement would get that data and print and get the statement. And then you'll have another statement printer probably that will know how to print it, or more printers depending on the environment.
Yes, let's do this. That would be something like an account operation, or
yes, yeah,
just an operation maybe.
Yeah.
What test can we write that will help us design this thing? What story can we tell that will that will say, okay, when you do this thing, when you do this withdrawal or this deposit, then you get this operation that is created somewhere.
I would change the way how we wrote the test so that we do have an account, and that account already had some operations on it. And what's nice about Spock is that you can tell the story of those specific smaller parts. Like if you go please on the other test, the account test, it's what we wrote in when amount at line 26. So that's what I would do, is say when having an account with, I don't know, 7 operations, then we create it in that part of the code, in the when. Then I have this statement.
Okay. So we write a new test here.
No, I think the test I'm talking about should be an account statement, because it is about account statement. But I would use that in account statement tests, I mean. So I read the test in account statement tests, but I would use that small part to tell the story nicer. So doing this when, also writing that text into the when part. That's what I'm saying.
Let's try this, because right now I think that's a big step, but that's because I don't really see where we're going.
Okay.
So what would be the step?
Well, I don't know, something like account with dash operations with operations will generate the statement. I don't know, it's a bad name, but let's just keep it like that. I don't know more than that. So then so how was it? It was when, yes, exactly. And then you do account, and we create the account. It's new because it's groovy.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that new is not the thing I prefer, but now I think here we can create these operations. So we make the withdrawals, and no, okay. I would just say account dot withdrawal. Well, we need to put some money first because it will crash on us. So do some deposit of something, and yeah, draw, put some more money. I don't know. Make a few operations. Yeah. So we have something like that. And now where it's then, right? I don't remember how it was on the other one.
I think it's expect.
Yeah, okay, expect.
I'm going to check because I'm not sure. It's then.
It was then. So now it's a bit more, or more a bit similar to what we have on the top, right? We have a statement. So we have a new account statement of and where I would just keep the open, put it without any data. So just date, amount, balance, and statement, but without the expected. So what do you think about this? Or should we say account get statement? This is a design option now.
Yes. I am happy with this for now, and maybe later we can have the account creating this account statement for us instead of us creating the account statement this way. But this is a step that we can do later. We don't have to decide right now.
Yeah, what I like about this is that we keep the objects a bit more separate. Otherwise, we put some responsibilities on account that I don't know exactly if are fit there.
Yeah, we don't know yet to decide. So
Yeah.
I think that this is the fastest way to test what we really want to
Yeah.
implement. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So if we run that, I guess, and we look at the diff, I guess we can steal the output and just paste it.
yes, we just have to make the code compile because a const statement does not have yet a constructor.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's true.
And
Yeah, I
yes,
think
and here I have
it's fine.
to put a date and amount in the balance.
Yes.
First, I
So,
remove them, or I make them have default values.
well, I think we add
Or
from
we can just remove them because we don't use them right now.
exactly. We don't use them right now.
So
Just
is it
yeah,
okay?
yeah. Just remove them.
And I think that we will have this that fails.
Yeah, and well, I think we can move. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Yeah.
We can remove this test actually because it's kind of useless right now. But
Yeah.
let's make this just after the test is passing.
That was a learning test to see how things work with Spock.
Yes, more like this. Because the Spark is not happy when we do not provide it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so
Okay.
you just need to put something bogus there.
I'm going to like this. Okay, so of course we have this.
Yeah, so
Statement is a string. Yeah, good statement is an object, so the comparison
okay.
just cannot work.
So what's the statement? Oh, that's yeah. So we need a printer, right?
Yes, or it's something that converts a good statement to a string.
Yeah, so a very simple that's a printer, right? But it's a very simple printer. To string is kind of a printer.
Yes, okay. Do we call it to string? Do we
Yeah.
do it differently?
Yeah, let's just do to string.
And so we should implement this method. And here we can decide whether we want Kotlin to do it for ourselves or not. And we probably have to implement this by ourselves because we want to have this formatting here.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why I said it's a very simple printer.
So let's just make this pass and implement the toString to return the hard-coded value that we expect. Okay. So it is passing, and now maybe we can remove the first test because it has really no interest for us. And we can remove the statement method. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe now that's not what we really want to
No.
get.
No. So definitely we need to store the date because now we don't have it. So it's very difficult to print it. So we need to store the date for each of these operations. Because the rest we can compute, but we don't have the date.
Yes. So where do we want to store it? In a dedicated structure we said earlier?
I would use a different object that is connected with the account. So the account would just like record there, do an insert. It's a table with all the operations. So probably it would be something like a count operation.
And what is the smallest step we can do to introduce this new concept?
Just write it in the class account as a list.
Okay. I can do this, but right now I have no reason to do it because I have no test that converts me to perform change.
Yes, so that's why I think that the test should be different. Like the dates, the date would be a list, right? The amount would be a list, and the balance would be a list. Is that right?
I'm not sure I understand. When you say date should be a list.
So I'd like one statement for a list of transactions, or we call that those operations. Anyway, I think they're transactions, maybe that. So I was thinking how to model this in the where part, because now we're putting in date, amount, and balance. So I was thinking, what do we need to put here? Or should we just put here something like operation with these information, so all this information encapsulated in the operation, and it would be a list of these?
Yes, I was thinking about this.
And one statement for this list of operations that we make.
So something between the two solutions, I would say. So maybe we can write the options we have here just to be sure we are talking about the same thing. So what you are saying is that we would have a list of operations, and we would expect one statement. Yes, so I would be more comfortable writing something that is maybe not. Yes, it's probably part of the account statement, but that would be an operation that gives me a statement line, something like this, and then write this test.
Okay, yeah, sure, makes sense.
Because that would be less things to think about for me.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that.
So maybe we just write this test here and see what happens.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So that would be something like, actually, it's probably not here that we should write it, but never mind. You said transaction.
Yeah. So a transaction is the moment when you put money into account or remove money from account. That's a transaction.
I can live with this name. If you have a better suggestion.
Well, just leave it like that for now, and then we'll see about it.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because at this point maybe we are going to have to expose some methods of these account statement class that we don't really want to expose at the end. So maybe we write this and then later we will remove this test because it's just here like to help us to build the design.
Yeah, okay.
Because I want to have something like when I have a transaction, I don't know yet. It will probably have a date and amount. Let's say it has. Then when I create an account statement and that I print transaction. I want this to be equal to my my transaction as to some my.
This is statement line. This is what you are searching.
Yes, exactly. And so here we can have our transaction that is converted to our statement line.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what about date and amount? Do we give those?
I can do something like this, or I can give here instead of the transaction the date and the amount. But maybe it's easier to do this.
I think, in fact, a transaction can be at least two types: withdrawal and deposit, right? So I think we need to do that, to give that as well.
Okay.
So we need to give statement type, transaction type. Yeah.
So that would be something like this. Let's take this date, amount of that, and we would expect it to be something like this part.
Yes.
Except no, not the balance.
It's 10.
Oh.
You still.
Yes.
You will still have. No, you don't need withdrawal. So, what you still need 10 and 30. So that's the amount, and that's the last. Yeah. We still need that. So we'll hard code the initial amount because we don't care about the initial amount here. In the statement, I mean.
Yes.
It's not something that we give to each test. It's something that we give to each line of this test, so to the table. It's just something we give in the beginning. So I think that should be in the when part. Or not even, so that should be in the account that we didn't create, right?
Mm-hmm. So here, what I feel is that we have this problem because we have something transaction that has no context, and the balance that results in a set of transactions that we have applied to the account.
Mm-hmm.
So our test is kind of mixing a very small thing which has no state with a global thing which has a state.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what I'm thinking is what should the transaction do? The transaction should. Do we just get out of the transaction? So is it just a value object that we'll use and it will just get information like a database? Because then we don't need all these things. We should create or we should make a helper method to generate these transactions. This transaction, this one here, and then we'll just use that data structure as it is.
Yes, that's probably what we should do. Because this test is going nowhere, because I think that if we try to make it pass, we are going to end in a bad place.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking of creating a helper method, and we give it an account and whatever we do, because I think the transaction type, in fact, we put it here, but it's not it shouldn't belong here. I shouldn't care about that.
Well,
What's a transaction? A transaction means a date, a type, and amount. Yeah, I think it should work like that as well. Because what do I care? I care that I go to my account and I pay something. So, or I see that I got something. That's what I care.
yes, but I think that we're mixing. We're trying to do two things at the
Yes.
same time. Introducing this notion of transaction, and
Okay.
and we're doing it while introducing the statement and the printing part. And
So-
I think that we can solve both problems at the same time.
So then let's just make a transaction generator that will just create whatever without taking into account about the account. Let's say so. What do you think about that?
So the story is we want that when we perform a transaction on an account, we want to be able to get all these transactions and see them.
Yes. So now we consider in this test, in this story, that our transactions happened, and now we just want to print it.
Okay.
So this is what we wrote. The transaction can be printed by an account statement. So that means that the transactions already happened. So we don't care about that part. They are there somewhere stored in a data structure.
Yes. So we don't want a transaction here, we want an account.
I would keep the transaction, but I would generate the transaction. I would just generate it somehow. So I would create a helper that would know how to generate that list of transactions for an account. Yeah.
Okay, so something like this. We'll see how we can write something here. And so, do we want to print a single transaction or a set of transactions?
We started off by having just one line, so I think that's fine.
Okay.
Maybe the next test will be with more.
The reason we started, at least the reason why I wanted to start with one was to better understand this concept of transaction. Here, since we are doing the printing, maybe I'm okay with first implementing the printing for all the transactions we have. So we can have the header and all the transaction.
Yeah, it would be just simpler to have just one line. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so generate transaction. Yes, that would be something like this. Maybe here we want to generate it with date amount and transaction type. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. So this transaction builder should be a helper method here.
Yes, do you want me to just do this?
Yeah. Yeah, because we should learn a bit more about what needs to be done here.
Okay. So maybe we create the class transaction.
Yeah, I would do that.
And so this is a groovy class. I don't want a groovy class. Okay, and it will take a transaction type. And we can create a new name for this, I think. I'm going to put it here. And so we said that we have at least withdrawal. Okay. And it returns the transaction, and we just store a transaction type, local date, and the amount in it, I think.
Yeah, and we also need the initial amount, which I would hardcore, like, I don't know how we called it in the other part, because that's something that should come from the account.
Okay, and do we want it to be stored in the transaction or not?
I'd like to store in the transaction. Yes. But so this is what I'm saying. I would just hardcore it here inside the method.
Okay, so something like this.
Yeah. Yes. Because in the future, I think that should come from the account. When you when you make the payment, you know how much money you have. So you just give that information and you create this transaction, let's say, line from a table. Yeah. That looks like what I was thinking.
This new again. So transaction. Maybe we can use. So do we want to use integers or the money class?
I would use the money class for sure.
Let's store everything. Okay. Yes, I have to call this correctly.
So now, should we put this in a... We should return this or...
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, never mind.
Anyway, I think it returns if you don't put anything, it's return. It's an implicit return.
Yes. And now we just have to write the print transaction method from the account statement, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And I can just run the test now, it should fail. And now we just have to decide how we want to implement this method.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's do a real implementation right now instead of copying this one.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of simple. We just need to concatenate the values from transaction. Date amount.
Then we have date amount balance.
So the balance is the initial amount minus amount.
Okay.
And the date should come also from transaction, right?
Yes,
Local date.
I will rename it. And we can try this. I don't think date will be formatted the way we want. Yes, and
oh, it's with dashes, and that needs money. Yeah, we need to put value, right?
Yes. So that would be something like this.
Okay, and then with date, it's with dashes and not with slashes. So I think we need to tell it how to print it in the yeah there. So transaction date. Does it have something like the string or the formatter? Yeah. Okay.
And let's call it transaction data formatter. Create this class here. No, I don't want to do this.
What? Should it extend something?
Yes, I think. Not
Just,
this one.
just look at the type. What is format looking for?
It wants a
Datetime formatter. That's what you need.
actually, I don't think I have to create a new class. I think that I can just create a datetime format.
Maybe there's something there. Oh, you can just give it.
Yes.
It doesn't give us examples because I don't know what this means. Ordinal date, zone date time. Oh boy.
Be something like this. We'll extract it later, but. So we said we want day, month. Yeah, I think this is something like this.
For year.
Oh, yes, sorry. And it is failing because
Unsupported field minute of hour.
oh yes, that's not.
Yeah. That's always silly.
Okay, so now it is failing because the balance.
Yeah. So I was thinking that we're doing something wrong there. I was puzzled why we did this. That I said something stupid. So I don't think transaction or printer should do any computation. They should just have data.
Yeah.
So the amount is, you don't need to do any difference there. It's just initial amount without minus amount. That was just.
Okay, so you want something like this?
Yeah.
Okay. And so should it be the amount before or after the transaction has been applied?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Should it be the value of the money on the account before or after the transaction was applied?
Let's look at the thing. So we have in the requirements of date, credit, debit, and balance.
I think it's after, because before you don't care. You don't want to do the math as a customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
this
right.
is something that is provided by the account that does the calculation and then says, okay, so this transaction has been applied and now the balance is this.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. So maybe we can rename this thing that's called initial amount. But
that's
balance, actually.
So that's balance. Yes, that should be balance.
Okay.
And another thing in the print transaction, now that I look at the requirements, is that you have something like can you please just write it somewhere, like comments, just to.
Yeah.
So it should be something like date, double pipe credit, double pipe debit, double pipe balance. So when it's withdrawal, you'll have the amount put in credit. So you'd have something like, I don't know, whatever date. Yeah. And then nothing. Or 30. Okay, let's say 30. Nothing. And then the balance. So this is when you credited. But when you debited, it will be a date, nothing, and then, yeah. So something like that. Those are the requirements. And that's what we should do. And we moved a bit away from that.
Okay. So let's make our current test pass and change it, and then
Yeah.
Go there. Okay, it's passing. Great. Just one thing, because it's not really easy to read. I want to extract this thing.
Yeah. Isn't there an already existing format from many of those that were there?
Maybe, I don't know. We are going to check. Maybe. It's okay. So there are many, and I don't know. I can get a quick view of this.
The documentation is not that friendly here. They don't tell a story with this documentation.
No, but usually I don't think that slashes are used for dates. It's always dashes.
Okay.
So either we switch to dashes or we keep this thing.
Yeah, I would go for dashes then.
Okay. And then we have to find the right one. So maybe this one can do. Let's change test. And let's try to change this one. I'll remove the code later.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that we can find one that matches what we want to do. But okay, it changes.
Okay.
There's no dashes at all. Okay.
So that's ISO without anything. That's not very easy to read. So
So that time format. Let's have a quick look at the documentation. Do we have examples? Yes, we do. And this one I want. So that be ISO local date, and we will have to change year, month, day. If that's okay with you, we do this.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And now we should have something that passes, and then we can change debit and credit. Okay. So here we do withdrawal. So which one do we have first?
Wait.
Something like this.
Wait to see the documentation. So we have date, then we have credit, then we have debit, then we have balance. In this case, we made withdrawal, so that's credit, so that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So let's implement this because it's obviously failing. I'd like to have a method for this thing because it's very hard to read.
Yeah, it's true. It still is hard to read.
And how can we do this? We have many options here.
We need to decide if the amount is if the amount is withdrawal, it will be here. If it's deposit, it will be. We need another pipe. So I think we just need a variable and an if. I think that's the simplest way. No, not just a variable.
So the idea I have right now is to have two methods, one for credit and one for debit.
Yeah.
That will either return a value or an empty string.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
we call every method at each So this one was credit, we said,
Yeah.
and we yes, and we would have something like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Section, and right now it returns this. And I think
There's a slight difference of a space, I guess. You have a space in the right and you didn't have on the left. So I think you put a space in the expected in the test.
no, I did not.
You did not put a space there, so what's going on?
I should have one or not. What do the specifications say? Should we have a space or not?
Wait a bit. No, you shouldn't.
Okay, so we need to change here because we have spaces here, so we have to.
So you well yeah, okay, so you need one space. Yeah, so that's right. No, I think you should return from the debit function. You should return
Here,
yeah.
and here we need a string with spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Something like this.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Great.
So now we can play with
Mm-hmm.
with the tests.
Yeah. So that's a withdrawal. Now can we change maybe withdrawal to credit so that we simplify the language?
Yes.
And okay, you didn't rename it.
It should have.
Yeah.
But I think it broke the import or something like this. Yes.
Okay, weird. Yes, so let's make sure this works. So now I would do a debit.
No.
Okay.
Come to this one. Okay.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, change date maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And something like this.
40. So that's 70. 40 to 30, that's 70.
Yes, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
40.
It's not 0, it's nothing. Yeah.
And it should fail.
Will it fail?
Yes, because we...
Yeah, you don't have credit. Yeah, we didn't implement the other one. Mm-hmm. The debit one. Yeah.
This and here we have some thing to do. So if transaction type is debit, we want, I'm going to change this.
I put a guard clause.
Okay, let's do that.
Yes.
And this, we will have something like this. And this will be the same one reversed. So I'm going to duplicate this right now and we'll refactor this later.
30.
Oh, yes.
It's plus, or what did it happen?
We don't have to change it because we hard coded it, and so we said that no computation would happen here.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's,
Oh, it's 30. It's still
yeah.
30. Yeah, you're right. I went too far. Yeah, it's
Okay.
true.
Maybe we can improve this a bit.
Mm-hmm.
What would be a nice way to remove this duplication? Well, we could extract this method and actually we just have this one. So yes, we can remove this duplication. I am not sure it will be more readable, but we can try.
Mm. I think if you do the same at 27, then IDEA should be able to extract. Should be able to extract both of them. I don't know how it is in Kotlin, but
Yes, I think depends. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we want to print amount. That's transaction amount.
Yes, so it worked. So now you inline it.
This way, and do you want me to remove this one or not? I can inline one more level, or I can.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just.
It works either way. I think it's easy to read.
Yes. Okay, this way it's nice. Do we want to play more with the test here?
So we have a debit, we have a credit. I think what we should do is have more debits and credits. So have a debit and a credit. Can we do that? I don't think so now.
No, because that's just.
Yeah, that's one.
So I think that we have covered everything we want here.
Yeah. So then I will just say we stop and do this next time.
Yes, next time we can work on the account and how many transactions will work together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right. So how was today's work on this idea of test to tell a story?
We did not much focus on stories. It helped us at some times where we were a bit stuck. I really like this framework. I had just heard of it and I had never tried it, and I really like how easy it is to write things and how easy it is to focus on the intent of the test instead of what we're going to code or how we are going to code these things.
Yeah.
I also find that switching from Kotlin or Java to Groovy is not that difficult as long as you don't forget the new.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And so I think that sometimes you could be afraid to use a different language for your test. In this case, I don't think you should. It's really easy, and it's really I would say that what really matters the most in the test here is the data.
Yes.
So as long as your data is easy to read, the test is easy to read and to maintain.
I mean, it's even if you're not that knowledgeable of Kotlin, it's even difficult to see that this is not Kotlin. It's very close.
Yes.
Because there's nothing very specific here, just creating an object, and I think only def is different and the new, right?
Yes, that's the only different thing that we saw. The rest would be quite similar, except that labels like when, then, where. I don't know if we have this in.
Yeah, but I think that's from Spock. So.
Yes.
It's specific to the framework.
Okay. And integration was really easy. We can easily switch between our code and our test. So a nice session for me to discover this new thing.
I think it's interesting to use this framework to use POC in the case when you have data, because it's very easy to read, very easy to understand by anyone. I think if you write your data properly, a business analyst or a domain expert, or even, I don't know, someone who doesn't know anything about programming could understand what's there if you write it well. Like here, it's we just use domain names. So for a credit or the date, that amount, that's the statement line. I don't think you need to understand coding. And I think that's the purpose of these types of tests, that should be on the domain and should show the behavior and nothing technical.
Yes. And the thing I really like about this is that it is very easy to play with the test and add a new case and test things.
I mean, for a non-technical, a tester who doesn't know programming, this is easy to do. For an analyst, a business analyst who doesn't know programming, it would be easy to do and try out new data here after you wrote the test. I think this is the power of it.
Yes.
It's like playing in Excel, more or less. So
definitely.
Okay. So we stop here. Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's all for me.
All right. So thank you for pairing with me today, and as always, until next time, have fun coding.
Thank you. Have fun.